So if you ever wondered what life was like for a lighthouse keeper, this is a profession we pretty much don't have anymore. Most of our lighthouses now are automated or solar powered, so lighthouse keeping just doesn't exist the way it used to. But it was an important profession back in the day. It was through our lighthouse keepers that lighthouses did the jobs that they were built to do. So we learned a little bit about lighthouse keeping when we visited the St. Paul's Island Museum in Dingwall, Cape Breton. And lighthouse keeping was actually considered a good profession. Lighthouse keepers were paid a stipend or a salary, and while these may not have been the best, the benefit to being a lighthouse keeper was that the Canadian government paid for your living expenses. So lighthouse keepers could retire with all the cash that they had. But the Canadian government definitely looked for a certain kind of individual when they hired their lighthouse keepers. And generally speaking, they preferred to hire young married men. They preferred to hire younger individuals because those are the people who are at the start of their career and they might have many years ahead of them as a lighthouse keeper. But it could be an isolating profession depending on where your lighthouse was located. So a married individual would then at least have another person with them on the island. But of course, a practical benefit to having someone else with you was that there was someone else to look after the lighthouse in the event that you couldn't for some reason. So lighthouse keepers might be up all night having kept the lighthouse going through a storm, and it would be their partner that could step in the next day if the lighthouse keeper needed rest or if they were sick. So St. Paul's Island, though, was fairly unique when it came to the isolation part. There were 2 lighthouses on St. Paul's Island, so there were 2 lighthouse keepers and 2 house-like keeping families. And while I'm sure, though, that neither family had much time to go and visit each other, there was that comfort of knowing that there was another family on the island and that, you know, you could visit them should the opportunity present itself. But if you visit St. Paul's Island's official website at stpaulsisland.net and you look under Keepers, you'll see that the Southwest Lighthouse had 6 lighthouse keepers between the time frame of 1915 and 1982. And one of these lighthouse keepers was a gentleman by the name of Wilson Gwynn. And Wilson was one of the longest standing lighthouse keepers on St. Paul's Island. He lived there for 13 years and he was there with his wife and their daughters. And if you visit the website, you'll be able to look at an interview that was done with Wilson as well as his wife Sadie. And they had a daughter that was born on St. Paul's Island. Her name is Iris, and one of her grandsons wound up interviewing her, and that interview is on the website as well. And many of the grandchildren of Wilson Gwynn and Sadie are alive today, and they were able to be there when St. Paul's Island's Southwest Lighthouse moved to Dingwall from Dartmouth, and there's a photo on the website of the granddaughters standing in front of the lighthouse when it moved. So, and one of the lighthouse keepers that followed after Wilson was Kate Redman. So there was a woman lighthouse keeper who looked after the Southwest Island lighthouse on St. Paul's Island. There isn't any record on the years that she served, and there's some question as to whether or not she had any relationship with prior lighthouse keepers. But she is known to have served as a lighthouse keeper, and she is listed among the 6. So if you want to learn more, you can visit the stpaulsisland.net website, and there's those interviews and photos and a poem, and they can try and give you a better first-person picture of what life was like for a lighthouse keeper. And that pretty much wraps up our video and photo series on our visit to St. Paul's Island Museum in Dingwall. We will be doing one more video because when you walk into the museum, there's a big feature wall on sea glass. So we're going to be talking a little bit more on our next video on the sea glass in the area. And if you're looking for an opportunity to live lighthouse keeping firsthand, check out the description below. We have a link to a summer work program that employs lighthouse keepers to upkeep lighthouses for the summer. And definitely like us at Nova Blue Treasures here on Instagram or on Facebook or YouTube. We'll have some more videos coming up on some things we learned while we were in Cape Breton. And we also asked you in an earlier post to send us your submissions on some of the more unique lighthouses that you've seen. So definitely keep those coming to us. You can tag us at Nova Blue Treasures, and we'd love to see some more of those. We'll be revealing our pick for the most unique lighthouse we've seen while we've been traveling. So stay tuned. Make sure you like us and follow us on Facebook or Instagram or YouTube, and we'll see you around. Thanks.